Whether you're stuck in traffic, hitting the gym, or just winding down, we are here to spill the hottest tea from your favorite Bravo shows. From the wildest reunions to the quietest social media unfollows, we cover it all. So welcome back to Reality TV Podcast and Clips. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Let's get into it on 3, 2, 1. So we have just a massive deep dive ahead of us today. This one is really built from the ground up for you because you gave us this huge stack of material to get through. It covers, basically the whole reality universe.
It really does. We're going from the high-altitude drama of Potomac.
The revenge tour.
The revenge tour, exactly. All the way to the sort of strange frenemy alliance in Salt Lake City. And then, we have some really serious personal shifts with the Beverly Hills icon.
And even a clash between, reality TV royalty and, actual royalty. It's a lot.
It is. And our mission here really is to be your shortcut through all of it. We're not just recapping. We want to pull out the critical insights that are kind of hidden under the surface.
Right. It's about the power dynamics. It's about who is pulling the strings and, more importantly, why.
Exactly. What are the motivations behind the drama? And I think most importantly, how are these stars using vulnerability or, a lack of it as a strategy? It's almost like a study in social psychology, but with much better outfits.
Okay, let's just jump right in then with the Real Housewives of Potomac. We have to start with Angel. She has really proven that she is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
Oh, absolutely. This revenge plot she's cooked up it's just spectacular. And it all goes back to her move to Colorado and this cast trip that we're basically calling the altitude adjustment.
Right. So to set the stage for everyone, we have to remember why she's even in Colorado. Her whole move was kicked off because of that financial issue back home.
The botched short-term rental agreement.
Exactly. And that has been the weapon used against her all season long. So now she's bringing the entire cast to her new turf up in the mountains.
And that piece of context is so important because it establishes her biggest trigger. Anything that touches on her money or her living situation is where she is most vulnerable.
But before we even get to the trip, there was this really beautiful, almost parallel story happening with the rookie, Tia Glover.
Yes, and it was so raw. Tia's whole thing this season has been reconnecting with her family that she was estranged from, especially her half-sister, Amira.
And that scene, it just stood out so much because it felt so real compared to the usual drama that feels a little cooked up.
It was a genuine attempt at healing. They decide they want to go visit their late father's old house in D.C. Tia said she'd been driving by it for weeks, just trying to get the courage to go up to the door.
And she finally contacts the new owners. This is where you remember it's a TV show, because the new owners actually let them in.
With the entire production crew. Can you imagine you're just living your life and suddenly a camera crew and a family are having a deeply emotional moment in your living room?
I would not be that homeowner. I'm sorry.
It's a huge sacrifice of privacy. But for Tia and Amira, it was just this incredibly healing moment. They're walking through the house. They're recreating old photos from when they were kids. There were a lot of tears.
And for us as the audience, it gave Tia so much more depth. It showed this real vulnerability that had nothing to do with the group's, petty fights. It grounded her character right before all the chaos started.
And the chaos really ignited right before they left for Colorado. It all went down at Monique Samuel's book launch.
For Love Letters from Versions of Myself, it was set up as a sip and read. And it's so introspective.
Well, Monique, even as an alum, she knows exactly how to create a situation that's designed to look like self-reflection, but actually just provokes a fight.
And the tool for that provocation, the binders.
The binders, an iconic callback to her season 5 reunion moment.
The second those binders came out, you knew. You just knew this wasn't going to be about love and healing.
Not at all. She had them write entries about each other in these binders, which were all stabbed with everyone's names, and then they had to read them out loud.
It's just a direct injection of conflict. And the shade was, immediate.
Oh, right away. You have Giselle, who is just the queen of passive aggression, leaving Stacey's page completely blank.
Which says more than writing something nasty. It says, you don't even exist to me.
Exactly. And then Wendy just immediately goes for Kiarna, reigniting their old beef by writing that Kiarna was fake.
But the real target, as it always seems to be, was Angel. And Ashley Darby delivered the line that just lit the fuse.
Catfish, not fully walking in her truth.
And we know those are the two nuclear words for Angel. Catfish and eviction. You say either of those and she just loses her composure.
And the reaction was just what you'd expect. She literally rips the page out of the binder. She challenges Ashley right there, asking, if I'm a catfish, then why are you even coming to my house?
This is a great question.
It's a fantastic question. And Monique actually steps in to mediate, and Angel gets like a partial win. Monique gets Ashley to apologize for using the word eviction.
Which is huge for Ashley. She actually pledged to take the E word out of her vocabulary entirely.
A major concession. So she apologized for the financial attack. But then Angel, feeling her power a little bit, pushes further. She asks Ashley to remove catfish from her vocabulary too.
And that's where the apology train stopped.
That's where it derailed because, apologizing for the word eviction is about a specific circumstance. It's a factual thing. But the catfish label, that's an attack on her entire identity on the show.
Right. It's not about what happened to her. It's about who she is. It suggests she's fundamentally inauthentic. And you can't really apologize for a belief you hold about someone's character, at least not in this world.
Not in the Housewives world, no. A label is a storyline. So Ashley can apologize for a circumstance, but she can't apologize for a label because that label becomes a talking point for the whole season.
So Angel gets an apology for the attack on her financial situation, but not for the attack on her character. And she packs all of that simmering anger onto the plane to Colorado.
And this trip, it begins with some real theater. Angel shows up to the airport in this full Western getup, head-to-toe denim, a cowboy hat.
She's signaling, this is my turf now. The rules are different here.
Totally. And they start this long drive up into the mountains, and here's the first major strategic move. They just keep driving and driving until they lose cell service.
So the veterans are completely isolated, literally and figuratively.
The geography is part of the plan. The cell service is part of the plan. She made sure they were completely cut off from their usual support systems with no easy way out. But the real masterstroke was the destination.
Right. The veterans, Giselle, Ashley, everyone who had questioned her all season, they don't end up at Angel's house.
No, they end up at an Airbnb, an hour away from where Angel actually lives.
She used the very thing they mocked her for, a short-term rental, as a weapon. Honestly, it's genius.
And she called her own home her sacred safe space, basically saying, you all are not worthy of entering my actual sanctuary.
And who was allowed in the sacred space?
Only her allies. Kiarna and Tia got to stay with her at her real house. So right away, she's created this huge physical and psychological divide in the group.
The veterans must have been losing their minds.
They were so confused, annoyed, complaining about the wasted gas, the logistics of being an hour away in the mountains.
The whole thing just screamed, this is payback.
Yeah.
But the absolute peak of the pettiness, the ultimate shade, was the room assignments at the Airbnb.
Oh, it was a masterpiece of revenge. She assigned Giselle and Ashley, her two main tormentors, the absolute smallest, worst room in the house.
The room with two twin-size beds.
Two twin beds that they were expected to share. This was the moment Angel finally found her backbone and delivered a lick back that was so specific and so personal to them.
And you have to remember the history here. Giselle is famously, notoriously picky about where she stays on cast trips.
Yes. We all remember season 6 when she was so disgusted with the accommodations at Wendy's place that she just packed her bags and checked into a hotel.
But this time, she couldn't. She was stuck. No cell service. In the mountains, in a tiny bed with Ashley.
That's the brilliance of it. Angel didn't just give her a bad room. She recreated a situation that she knew would trigger Giselle, and then she took away any chance of escape.
And how did the rest of the cast react to this?
Most of them were actually on Angel's side. The consensus was, you know what, after weeks of getting harassed by these two, she earned this little moment of petty, personalized revenge. It completely shifted the power. Angel wasn't the victim anymore. She was the one in control.
But Giselle doesn't just sit back and take that. She's a master strategist herself. When she's cornered and uncomfortable, she knows exactly which buttons to push.
Her go-to weapon. She immediately went back to stirring up the old drama about Angel's living situation back in Potomac.
And she didn't just rehash the old stuff. She dangled something new and ominous.
Exactly. She delivered this cryptic warning. She said, we have more information about that, and I'm going to leave it right there.
Oof, that line. I'm going to leave it right there.
Oh.
It's reality TV gold, but it's so manipulative. It implies there's this dark, secret story that's even worse than what we already know.
It's designed to keep Angel completely paranoid. You can't defend yourself against a threat you can't see. It's strategic ambiguity.
But Angel, maybe it's the altitude, but she's feeling bold. She's on her home turf. She has her allies, and she refused to let that threat just hang in the air.
She called her bluff. Immediately, she put the entire cast on notice.
What she demanded was so important. She basically said, if you have more information, if there's more to this eviction story, you have to say it right now.
No more whispers. No more, I'm going to leave it right there. And she attached a huge consequence to it.
A huge one. She said she would shut down.
Meaning, the trip is over. If you don't either put up or shut up, I am ending this entire cast trick. She said she wouldn't allow crazy lies and toxic energy on her property.
And that's the first time we've ever really seen her wield her power as a host. She dictated the terms of engagement and forced them into a corner. It was a total shift from defense to offense.
A huge shift. And speaking of housewives trying to control a negative narrative, that's a perfect transition to Kris Stewart. She's fighting her own battle to frame her story, and she's dealing with some really serious allegations.
Yeah, these are accusations that could, completely torpedo her reality TV career if she doesn't get out in front of them.
We're talking about these rumors that have been swirling that she was involved in identity theft and other, similar financial crimes. In this world where your whole brand is supposed to be about authenticity, that is probably the most damaging accusation you can face.
So she decided to address it directly in an interview. What was her defense?
It was a flat-out, absolute denial. She said the rumors are lies and that she's never had an issue with fraud, but she clearly knew that just saying no wasn't going to be enough.
Right. She had to provide some context for why the rumors might have started in the first place.
Yes, and she acknowledged that her past choices might have put her near that kind of world. She said she dated some bad boys during a season of my life.
So she's owning her past dating choices.
She's owning that part, but she's drawing a very clear line. She insists that while she was in that circle, she was never convicted of anything, never had a felony, and that the case people keep bringing up was immediately dismissed because it had nothing to do with me.
So her argument is guilt by association, not guilt by participation.
That's it, exactly. She's framing it as she was collateral damage. She even put out a theory that the authorities were targeting her to try and get to one of her boyfriends at the time.
Catch a small fish to get to the big fish.
Precisely. It positions her as this sort of unwitting pawn in a much bigger game. And she did confirm a really key legal detail, which is that the whole thing was expunged from her record.
Which legally supports her claim of innocence, at least in terms of a conviction. But in the court of public opinion, that's a different story.
It's so hard to shake. An accusation can stick to you even if you're legally cleared. Her whole strategy here is to focus on the legal reality. I was looked at because of who I knew, but the law found me innocent. It's a fight so many of these stars have to wage.
And it's not just the legal stuff. She's also trying to reframe her feuds with her castmates, especially with Wendy. She feels like the audience is missing huge chunks of the story.
Yeah, she said her whole beef with Wendy didn't just start out of nowhere. She feels like the show edited it to look like she just randomly started attacking Wendy.
When in reality, she says she was the one who tried to make peace first.
Yes. She shared this detail that was totally cut from the show. On the Nevis trip, she apparently gave Wendy a pair of earrings for her birthday as a peace offering.
Wow. That changes everything. That is a massive piece of missing information. The audience is seeing a version where she's the aggressor, but she's saying she tried to de-escalate with a gift first.
It completely flips the narrative of who started it. Kris said her goal was just to move on and at least be good coworkers at best. So when you see her reacting angrily later in the season, her argument is that it's coming from a place of frustration because her peace offering was rejected. It's not a new attack.
And she talked about that huge boat argument with Giselle and Wendy, too. From our perspective, it looked like they were ganging up on her.
And she said she was very confused why we were even having that conversation. According to her, she and Giselle had already buried the hatchet multiple times.
So she thought that issue was done. Over with.
Completely. So when it got brought up again on the boat, she felt like it was a setup.
A little got-ya moment, as she put it.
Exactly. A moment designed to make her look bad and get a reaction. She specifically pointed the finger at Wendy for instigating it. You can just hear her frustration, watching the show back and seeing her reactions without any of the context of what she felt was happening behind the scenes. She's really fighting the edit.
And speaking of fighting back against a manufactured narrative, let's head over to Salt Lake City. Because we have Meredith Marks and Lisa Barlow, who used to be enemies, and are now this unbreakable team against the rest of the cast.
It's such a fascinating dynamic, and they are really united on this one issue, pushing back on the claims that Meredith has been acting erratically.
Right. This all seems to stem from that cast trip to Greece. The rumor, which was apparently started by Mary Cosby, was that Meredith was displaying erratic behavior.
And Meredith is not just denying it, she's reframing the accusation itself. She's basically saying the accusation is the weapon. It's a calculated strategy from the group.
Her defense is so intellectual. She positions herself as this calm, collected strategist, and everyone else is just an emotional mess trying to get a rise out of her.
That is the perfect way to put it. She insists she's calm and composed, and that her castmates are the ones engaging in antics. She sees it as this long-term game where their only goal is to make me get upset.
And she used that phrase poke and prod over and over.
Relentless tactics, just constantly poking at her, wrongfully accusing her, trying to break through her composure.
Okay, but here's the question. If she's so composed, why are multiple people using the word erratic? Is she just not seeing how her behavior comes across?
I think that's the core of it. The behavior isn't necessarily erratic on its own, but it might seem erratic as a response to being provoked. And Lisa actually clarifies this perfectly.
What's Lisa's take?
Lisa says Meredith is simply reacting emotionally to what they're saying and doing to her. She sees Meredith putting up a different kind of wall to protect herself from all that negativity.
So what we see as erratic, they see as defensive.
Exactly. For Meredith, being composed means not letting them see her sweat. It means keeping that emotional distance. But to an outsider, that can look really cold or, defensive and strange.
She also brought up the conflicting advice she gets, which feels like a classic gaslighting move from the group.
Oh, totally. She says 1 minute they're telling her, you should talk more. And when she tries to open up, the next person immediately tells her, don't talk.
It's a no-win situation.
It's a trap. It's designed to make it impossible for her to ever do the right thing. And that experience is what fuels her decision to not be vulnerable. She literally asks, why would I be vulnerable with people who are looking to hurt me?
Which is a fair question. And this is where her alliance with Lisa becomes so important. It's not just about her behavior anymore. It's about her one source of support.
Yes. Meredith is convinced the group has been trying to put a thorn in between her and Lisa for years.
And she asks that big question. Why are they so afraid of us being friends?
And I think the answer is power. When Meredith and Lisa are on the same page, they're a solid two-person voting bloc. They can validate each other's feelings, confirm each other's version of reality.
And that makes it way harder for the rest of the group to isolate one of them and gaslight them.
It's an isolation strategy. Break up the alliance, and then you can go after each of them individually. They're vulnerable when they're alone.
So Meredith sees these attacks not as real arguments, but as a deliberate attempt to break her and Lisa up.
Exactly. And Lisa, who has been through the ringer herself with the group, she connects with this so deeply, she sees them doing the exact same thing to Meredith that they did to her.
She listed off everything they've come for her about.
I'm sick of my marriage being talked about. I'm sick of my business, my marriage, my face, my faith, all of it. That shared experience of being constantly picked apart is what really bonded them.
So when Lisa jumps in to defend Meredith, it's not just about this one argument. It's about fighting back against the entire system.
That's why she does it. She says she jumps in because she sees the injustice. She thinks it bothers the cast because their real goal is to get Meredith isolated, alone, and feeling like an outsider. Lisa is actively blocking that strategy, even if it means taking more heat herself.
They're fighting the isolation game together. It's a fascinating shift. Okay, let's move from these, complex group dynamics to a very personal, life-changing story. We have to talk about Rachel Zoe.
Yeah, the former RHOBH star. She's been so incredibly open recently, not just about the end of her 26-year marriage, but also why she stepped away from her massive styling career years ago.
So Rachel is 54, and she just finalized her split from Roger Berman, who's 57. After being together for that long, what was the moment she knew it was over?
She said it wasn't one big thing, it was a slow realization. It started when she began to question decisions and understood that she and Roger just weren't on the same page anymore about what they wanted out of life.
The desired results, as she put it.
Exactly, a fundamental divergence in their long-term goals. She said that, for most of the marriage it was amazing, but she filed for divorce simply because she was really done.
And despite how long they were happy, she did admit to having one pretty major regret at the timing.
A huge one. She said 100% that she should have left sooner. And she thinks that's a feeling a lot of women who leave long-term relationships have, that they stayed too long.
So if she felt that way, what was the final push? What made her decide to file when she did?
It all came down to her kids. Her sons, Skylar and Caius. Her entire focus became what was best for the kids.
And in her mind, that was having two happy parents who were separated rather than two parents who were together but not right for each other.
That's right. She said her priority was making sure they had two parents that loved them, and that overrode everything else. And that whole experience is why she's so passionate about the message she wants to send on RHOBH.
The message of independence.
Total independence. Specifically, she stressed 3 areas: financially, professionally, and socially. She feels like society just doesn't push that hard enough for women.
And her reasoning is really practical. It's about having your own foundation so when those hard moments in life come, you can stand up on your own.
Yes, you need to have your own things to wake up for every day, an identity that exists completely outside of your relationship.
And it seems like she's really living that now, embracing this new chapter.
Oh, absolutely. She confirmed she is absolutely dating and just having fun. She called this her era of freedom. And her only rule for dating now is that the person has to add value. Make her laugh, make her smile. It has to feel organic and natural to who I am now.
It's a powerful message. But she also talked about another huge life change, walking away from styling 12 years ago. Which, at the time seemed insane. She was at the absolute peak of her career.
And the reason she gave was actually devastating. She said it all came down to a complete and total lack of trust, specifically in her assistants.
She said she was completely betrayed.
Over and over, to the point where she just couldn't do it anymore.
And when we're talking about betrayal in that world, it's not just like someone showing up late.
No. The stakes are so much higher. It could be leaking confidential information about a client, stealing one-of-a-kind samples, selling stories, copying her designs. And she realized she just couldn't trust the people closest to her with the integrity of her brand.
She said continuing to do it would be the definition of insanity.
Right. Expecting a different result from the same situation. And the most important thing for her was her clients.
She called them extended family.
Which means there was no margin for error. If she couldn't be in 5 places at once during awards season, she had to have 100% trust in her team. And when that trust was gone, she felt like the system is broken. She couldn't risk letting down the people who had put their careers in her hands.
And on top of the trust issues, there was also just the pure logistics of it all.
The lifestyle was just impossible. The styling world runs on the celebrity schedule. It's constant, unpredictable travel. It's fittings at 2 a.m. And she was trying to do all that while also being the CEO of multiple companies and raising a newborn and a toddler.
It's unsustainable.
She had that big realization that, you can't really be 100% everything to everyone in every area of your life. She had to make a choice. And she chased stability and her family over the chaos of styling.
Wow. Okay, from these really personal life choices, let's pivot to a story about social power and a major clash of cultures. We're talking about Kris Jenner versus Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
This is such a fascinating story. It all happened at Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party. This was an A-list of A-list events. It was at Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's estate. Everyone who is anyone was there.
Including Harry and Meghan.
And the whole drama, as it so often does in that world, revolves around social media photos.
Of course it does.
So Harry and Meghan were there. They posed for pictures, and naturally those pictures ended up on Instagram, posted by the Kardashians and their friends. But then a little while later, the couple reportedly asked for some of those photos to be taken down.
And the reason they gave was that they thought the photos were unflattering.
That's the initial story, but the report we saw suggests there was a much deeper, more strategic reason for the request.
And it had to do with royal protocol.
Exactly. The timing was the real issue. They apparently didn't want to be seen on social media enjoying life while Great Britain was observing Remembrance Day.
Okay. That's a day for honoring members of the armed forces. It's a very solemn occasion.
A very solemn occasion. And the optics of them partying in Hollywood while the UK was in a period of national remembrance, it just wasn't good. They were prioritizing their public image as royals over the casual social rules of Hollywood.
Okay, so whether it was vanity or protocol, the request was made. How did Kris Jenner, the woman who basically invented social currency, react to being asked to delete photos from her own party?
According to an insider, she and her entire circle were just stunned.
Really? Stunned?
Genuinely stunned. Because in their world, the offense wasn't the request itself. It was the lack of respect it implied. The source said that for Kris, asking to post a photo is a courtesy, but she certainly isn't expecting anyone to say no.
Especially not from people she has helped.
That's the key. Especially from people who have asked for and received her help, advice, and connections.
So in her eyes, this wasn't just a social misstep. It was a betrayal of a professional relationship. It was a rejection of her power and influence.
It was a massive slap in the face, according to the insider. The interpretation from Kris's camp was that Harry and Meghan were acting as though they are too good to be seen partying with her.
So they'll use her connections when they need them, but they don't want to be publicly associated with her world.
A huge contradiction. And for someone like Kris, who operates in this very transactional world of celebrity alliances, that is the ultimate insult.
So what's the fallout? What was her final decision on this relationship?
The source says Kris now feels like she knows everything she needs to know about them. You know Kris, she is famously pragmatic and has zero time for people who she feels are using her. The insider says she plans to cut the relationship off completely.
And when Kris Jenner cuts you off, it's not just a personal thing.
No. The source made it very clear that she will no doubt be warning all her many friends as well. This is a full-on excommunication from her entire sphere of influence. She is effectively revoking their VIP pass to a huge part of Hollywood's social scene.
It's a masterclass in demonstrating that if you disrespect her social currency, the consequences are swift, severe, and very, very public.
Absolutely. Okay, let's wrap up our deep dive today with a story that's, it's been a long-running mystery. And it finally has an answer, but maybe not the closure that was needed. We're talking about Amanza Smith from Selling Sunset.
Yes, and her search for answers about her ex-husband, Ralph Brown.
It's just a heartbreaking story that viewers have followed for years. Amanza was married to the former NFL player from 2010 to 2012. And then on August 26, 2019, he just disappeared.
What were the last known details?
He dropped their 2 children off at school and was never seen or heard from by the family again. And what's so strange is that Amanza said for the 7 years after their divorce, co-parenting was fine. The kids went back and forth like clockwork. She even said he was a good dad.
And then, after he disappeared, he took a legal step that just made everything even more confusing.
A few months after he vanished, he filed paperwork with the court to relinquish all rights and responsibilities for his children.
He legally severed ties. But Amanza didn't even know about that for years.
No, because of all the COVID court closures, she didn't actually see that paperwork for 2.5 years.
That is just psychological torture. So for all that time, what did she think had happened to him?
She thought he was in danger. She was convinced he was having some kind of mental health crisis and that he needed their help. She was operating from a place of concern for him.
And their kids were so young.
They were 7 and 9 when he left. They're 14 and 15 now. So basically, their entire childhood since then has been defined by this awful uncertainty.
But just recently, after all these years, there was finally a real update from the police.
Yes. Amanza revealed that the police contacted her and they confirmed that Ralph is alive.
Wow. After all that time, to know he's alive. I can't even imagine that feeling. What was the key piece of information the police gave her?
They now have a physical address for him, and that's a really important legal distinction. It means he is officially no longer considered a missing person. The state has solved the case of where he is.
But they haven't solved the case of why he left. Did she get any closure? Any letter? Any explanation?
Nothing, she said. Literally nothing. The only thing she has is that court filing from years ago outlining the legal reasons he didn't want to be a parent. But no personal explanation, no contact, nothing.
So the emotional wound is still completely open. It's a new kind of limbo.
It's almost crueler in a way. To know he's out there, he's alive, and he's actively choosing to be absent. Yeah. And to know her children have to live with the fact that their father just walked away without a single word. The confirmation that he's alive is, paradoxically, a whole new level of pain.
This has been a really, really complex deep dive into the psychological warfare of reality television. We've seen the high-stakes chess game Angels playing in Colorado, putting Giselle and Ashley in those twin beds as, a calculated act of revenge.
Yeah, and we saw the isolation strategy Meredith and Lisa are fighting in Salt Lake City and how they're trying to find power in that two-person alliance.
And then we shifted from those kind of political games to the really harsh realities of personal choices. We had Kiarna defending her character against those fraud allegations, trying to control the legal facts of her story.
And Rachel Zoe making that incredibly difficult choice for independence after 26 years, really prioritizing her own self-sufficiency, and then ending with that just painful update for Amanda Smith, which gave her an answer but absolutely zero closure.
The common thread through all of it, just like we said at the beginning, is this constant, relentless battle against public perception.
It is. Whether it's fighting the catfish label or being called erratic, they are all constantly trying to control their own narrative. And the second Angel or Meredith stopped just taking it and asserted their own power, either by hosting a trip or building an alliance, that's the second the power dynamic shifted.
And that leads us perfectly into our final thought for you to think about, which really builds on everything we've talked about.
We saw Kris Jenner, on one hand, cut off a connection immediately over what she saw as disrespect to her social currency. She used her powerful network as a shield. Then, on the other hand, we saw Rachel Zoe, who prioritized her financial, professional, and social independence above everything else, making sure she could stand on her own. So the question is this. When you're operating in a world that's defined by public scrutiny, where your image and your alliances are everything, what provides the ultimate protection? Is it financial and social independence, or is it relying on a massive, powerful network like Kris Jenner's? Think about that as you navigate your own social world.